Hey ladies, it's Casey. I'm sorry that I'm a few minutes late. I am in the process of throwing 5 launch parties for some of my new girls right now. And so I just got done doing 5 different little application videos in their groups. And I just thought that it was kind of a good idea of what I did, and I wanted to share with you guys in case you are interested in doing this. What I did is I actually did my entire makeup application in their group. So what I did is I started out with one of them and went ahead and did my moisturizer and my foundation, and I only did half of my face to show how different the coverage was. And then I went into the second group and I did the second half of my face and explained to them that I had already applied one side of my face and I was going to finish with the second. I went in the third group and I went ahead and did one of my eyebrows and left the other with the SeneGence. I went into the fourth group, did my last eyebrow with the SeneGence, showed them before and after, and then the last one I went ahead and did an application video of my Lipsense. So I had 5 different parties going and 5 different groups got 5 different products shown to them, and I thought that was pretty amazing so that, I could get my face done, but I also could get use out of that application because nobody wants to waste a good application, right? So that's just an idea if you're trying to throw some launch parties for your girls, or even if you want to go in your own personal page and do that. And what that also did for me is that I wasn't solely focusing on Lipsense. I actually promoted our foundation quite a lot, and I went ahead and let them know that I was using the anti-aging since that's what's available. So if you guys are looking to throw some launch parties, that's a good idea. Okay, now I will go ahead and get started on reading chapter 2 of Million Dollar Lips. If you guys did not yet hear chapter 1, or you haven't had a chance to read this book, I highly suggest you do. This book came in all of our starter kits, so everybody has access to this book. It's written by our founder, Joni Kante. And it's literally like couldn't come at a better time, because when I read chapter 1 the other day, I had so much more love for our founder than I already did, and so much more respect for how she runs her business, and kind of just an insight on her way of thinking. And so chapter 1 I read, I think it was 2 days ago, in here, and you can go listen to it live, and you can just keep doing whatever you're doing throughout your day and listen to it on audio, because I know that we're all super busy, but I'm going to go ahead and do chapter 2 today. So chapter 2 says, it's called Teachers Who Show the Way, okay? Again, this is not going to be super entertaining as far as like watching me. You can totally watch me if you want to, but it's going to be more so about hearing me than watching me. So if you don't know how, you can actually minimize your little live video. You can actually turn me on, minimize me, and have me down in your little screen while you continue to scroll on Facebook or answer your messages or answer your emails or whatever it is that you need to do, so that you can still listen along and get things done, okay? So Teachers Who Show the Way. When I began my SeneGence journey in 2005 and made my first trip to California to meet Joni at seminar, I had no idea how life-changing that trip would be. I remember introducing myself to her and her telling me that she too was an Oklahoma girl, so we immediately had a bond. From that moment on, Joni invested herself in my business and in a personal relationship with me. There was a time when Joni and I spent weeks on the phone together going through Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. She showed up even when it was just me left on the call, and I knew she had plenty of things she could be doing. She sacrificed her time to help me grow in my business and grow as a person. I could go on and on about this woman and how grateful I am for her, and how blessed I am to be a part of such a special company. We have fantastic products, but really we share much more. We are a family. Dawn Christian, SeneGence Independent Distributor. And at this time she was a royal. So when this book was written, Dawn Christian, Dawn's Glam Girls, was a royal, and we are actually in her lineage. How fun is that? In addition to the many things I learned about life and business from my family, I have been blessed with other mentors who have helped guide my path. I believe mentoring is responsible for 90% of human development. It's the way we align ourselves with our daily behavior, and in turn we are constantly mentoring others through our words and our actions. Most of us don't realize how significant our words and our actions are on the thoughts and behaviors of others. Every day I choose which of my mentors I can turn to for guidance, depending on the situation I am facing. Often I begin by choosing to emulate the thinking of Jesus Christ. I ask myself, as the bumper sticker suggests, what would Jesus do? I have just found that this is especially helpful when this question I am facing is at a high level. In a business situation, I often model my decisions and actions on what I think Lee Iacocca, the former CEO of Chrysler, and before that, the president at Ford Motor Company, would do in a similar situation. I'm probably not saying this name right, but I think it's Iacocca. is not only known well as a business leader, he is also known for his courage and vision. We have to be careful picking mentors because our choices will determine if we are functioning at a higher level than simply wandering willy-nilly through life. I've met many of my mentors through books. I read as much as I can. I've read hundreds of business books, self-help books, and other publications about how to live and love. However, learning from other business leaders can only take you so far. You can internalize information from books, but you must take it further. You have to learn to imagine the conversations that you would have with a particular writer or teacher or mentor. I use these great teachers and my imaginary conversations with them as a starting point for my own thinking about a particular problem. Mary Kay Ash, the founder of Mary Kay Cosmetics, used to say, "Hitch your wagon to a star." I try to do exactly that, but sometimes, even today, I find myself wondering what it means. I think it means you don't just hitch your wagon to anybody. You have to be careful who you try to emulate. You certainly don't want to hitch your wagon to people who are negative, people who are not achieving positive growth in their lives. Negativity breeds like mold, gradually creeping into places where you can't even see it and making everybody around sicker and sicker. It's also important to learn how to listen carefully. I strive to be an expert listener, but it is equally essential to always think for yourself, evaluating what you hear and picking and choosing the ideas that are helpful to you. I like receiving advice, but I rarely follow it to the letter, because I know opinions are just opinions, even when they come from the wise. Of course, mentoring is more than sharing your opinions. It's showing others a way of life, and actions speak louder than words. So to be a mentor, you've got to walk your talk. You've also got to be willing to step out and walk your own path, not just follow exactly in someone else's footsteps. You must think for yourself. Even as a young girl, I was aware of the difference between my thinking and that of others. I learned to appreciate that difference and to learn from people without giving myself away to others' prejudiceness or short-sightedness. I learned to take the best and leave the rest. So I'm a firm believer in always maintaining a healthy skepticism. I apply that healthy skepticism to just about anything anyone says. The teachers I had as a young girl at Washington Elementary School in Sapulpa were among those who helped me develop my independent thinking even at an early age. I always looked at teachers with great reverence, knowing that they were highly educated. I value knowledge, so I value teachers. My favorite elementary school teacher was Miss Hansen, who was large and very German and strict. I respected her because she didn't let me get away with stuff like others did. Miss Hansen was tough. If I forgot my homework, I would go up to her and give her a smile and tell her a cute little story. I would be thinking, if I'm cute, she'll just pat me on the head and let me get away with not having my homework. But instead, Miss Hansen would look at me unflinchingly and say, "Okay, Joni, you forgot your homework. That's an F." She didn't buy into my excuses. I liked her because she did not make a distinction between whom she favored or who she didn't based upon charms or looks. She demanded results. She treated everyone the same, with equality, strength, and kindness in the classroom. I learned to appreciate and admire those who treat all with fairness and even kind-handedness. To me, treating everyone fairly and evenly is a sign of respect to all individuals who are, for whatever reason, gathered together for a common cause, whether it's work, church, home, or wherever. My best friend in school in Sapulpa was Kristen Zumwalt. Kristen's mom and dad were and are today wonderful people. He's an accomplished doctor, and she is a powerful Republican Party advocate in the state of Oklahoma. They lived in a beautiful home only a few blocks from the modest house where my family resided. My family actually lived in a series of homes, though moving often when we could not keep up with expenses. Kristen's family, on the other hand, was well-to-do, and their home was lavishly appointed. I spent most of my free time at the Zumwalt home, where I was always generously welcomed. Being in that home helped develop my political views, which are exactly the same as Kristen's parents: traditional, conservative, valuing, initiative, and self-reliance. The Zumwalt home was a safe haven. The family took me on vacations with them, and they treated me like a daughter. I ate many, many meals with them. They were very kind and giving family. The Zumwalts showed me what was possible in life. They showed me that it was possible to be kind and loving and have an organized, healthy family life. They were just as strong and loving today as they were back then. The other lessons that the Zumwalts taught me and the importance of practicing random acts of kindness and influencing others to do the same. I go into more detail about that a little later in this book. I recently talked to Kristen on the phone and asked about her parents. As it happened, her mom and dad were there with her in the car, and they were all on their way to the wedding of a family friend. The Zumwalts, still together as a family after all these years. Alas, all good things eventually come to an end, and as much as I loved the Zumwalds and their wonderful teachers I had in Silpopa, I physically left the world behind me when I moved to California at age 15 to live with my mother, Joanne, and my new dad, Jerry Height. I left because I was instructed to, following my involvement in a highly unlikely and bizarre incident in which my good friend Jeff was accidentally shot in the rear by me. Jeff and I were best of friends. We were two of a large circle of good friends and who gathered for parties and events through the school years and summer breaks. One beautiful Oklahoma afternoon, Jeff and I went target shooting under the bridge near our neighborhood. It was a typical country scene, a couple of kids with feet dangling over a river beneath the railroad tracks whiling away the time target shooting. At one point, I set my pistol down at my side on the old wooden bridge and it accidentally fired around. It shot him right in the butt. Oh my goodness. He wasn't hurt too badly, but it was still a traumatic incident because just 2 weeks earlier, one of our friends was shot and killed by accident. That afternoon, we both heard the gun go off. Of course, Jeff and I immediately looked at each other because neither one of us had a gun in our hand. We both stood up and we looked at the guns on the ground, and they were still lying there where we set them. Then we checked each other, and that's how we found a hole in his trousers where he was shot. Well, in the aftermath, it seemed like everyone was wondering, what kind of girl would just be out shooting a gun anyway? Jeff was in the hospital and I was in tears, and Miss Zumwalt took me to her home. She intuitively knew I would need the loving arms of a mother that night. Kristen and I snuggled in a warm bed and talked all night. I cried more, Jeff got better, there were no hard feelings, and I even wore his bracelet after that. But now a familiar heavenly voice, the same one that came to me earlier in my childhood as I described in the previous chapter, came to me again. This time it said, "You have learned all you can here. It is now time to leave. There is so much still to learn." Meanwhile, Dad Bill determined that I had served my time in Sapulpa. He said I needed my mother and college opportunities that were hard to come by in Sapulpa. God's guidance gave me the courage to uproot my life and start anew with a family I hardly knew. So when it came time for my first year of high school in Sapulpa, it was agreed I would move to Southern California to live with my mom and Jerry Height, whom I now call Dad Jerry. Oh my, what a change it would be. Now I would begin making the transition into adult life. During the next couple of years, while I was living with my mother and Dad Jerry, I developed a better than average work ethic. But you wouldn't have known it from my high school grades. I was a very good student in Oklahoma, but started struggling in high school in Ventura, California. I found myself in a terrible shy stage as I began attending classes at Bueno High School, home of the Bulldogs, in Ventura near the foothills of Los Padres National Forest and just a few miles away from the beach. In this beautiful setting, I went from being a yearbook queen in Oklahoma to being someone who could only look at the sidewalk, walking from class to class. I couldn't even answer teachers' questions, although I desperately wanted to. I was learning how painful it is to be shy. That's one of the reasons I feel so blessed today to have a company that makes products dedicated to helping women feel more confident about themselves. My best and only friend at Buena Vista High was Sandy. She was in the homecoming Queen's Court and she was a cheerleader. I was blessed to have her in my life and she helped me get connected. Meanwhile, Dad Jerry at Save On Drugs Executive helped me obtain a part-time job at the local Save On Drug store, though I didn't talk much more at work than I did at school. He looked at me during that time and saw someone who was eager to work and learn. At that time, my life seemed to be headed backwards. The only reason I stayed in California was because I had been told by my Heavenly Father to step through every door. What I know now is that at that time, I was being taught humility in a big way. Anyways, I worked my way throughout high school and after graduation found myself with a new business mentor, Mary Kay Ash, the founder of Mary Kay Cosmetics. I became a consultant with her company because I wanted to go into business for myself in my chosen field, cosmetics and personal care. Save On Drugs, meanwhile, was going through corporate downsizing and centralization, becoming streamlined and centralized to the point that every store looked the same. Previously, every store had been run as a separate business, which was the big appeal for me. With that business model soon to end, I realized it was time to move on. I also realized that Save On, I could not make the same business decisions those men were running the stores were making, at least not in an objective manner. I was more emotional than they were, and in particular, there was no way on earth that I could make the decisions that they made regarding employees. These were hard decisions affecting the livelihoods of many people, and I still can't do that today. So I told Dad Jerry I wanted to work with people, but in a different business. After unsuccessful inquiries at a few places, I was introduced to the concept of Mary Kay Cosmetics by my roommate. I became a Mary Kay distributor in 1982 and started learning from Mary Kay immediately, even if it wasn't a one-on-one relationship. She had the ability to make you feel like she knew you personally, even if you saw her twice a year at management meetings and conventions. She could assess someone very quickly. At this time, I rented a 2-bedroom condo in Woodland Hills, California. It was a lovely space surrounded by park-like terrain of running streams and trickling water that reminded me of the farm in Sapulpa. My roommate was actively selling Mary Kay products. I watched her day after day as she arrived home after conducting presentations, organizing her inventory, counting her earnings, all the while paying her share of the bills on time. Finally, I said to her, "Tell me more about how this works," and I went into a meeting with her. The rest, as they say, is history. I took my save-on work habits with me into my new career, and in 2 months working with Mary Kay Business part-time, I had matched my 60-hour-per-week income at Save-On. I began learning about Mary Kay's business and life values through her books and through weekly communications. She taught me a lot about positive affirmations. Instead of the corporate world where it seemed everyone was looking for their coworkers' flaws and making judgments about what people were and not capable of doing, Mary Kay looked for the good in everyone. This resonated with the way I wanted to spend my business efforts, encouraging others to do well. But Mary Kay could be tough too, and she made whatever decisions she needed to make based on truth, regardless of the popular consciousness or just how the numbers read. This appealed to me from the very beginning, as I knew a true entrepreneur must be able to lead with heart, not just numbers and reporting alone. Mary Kay was also very involved in politics and used her position to influence others, another thing that I liked about her. She had earned for herself a position in which she could speak the truth and people would respect what she had to say, particularly as it applied to politics, and I think that that's one of the greatest services you can provide the community. Last summer, Dorothy Zumwalt recalled for me a story that tied together a destiny moment. That is, an important moment in time which, recognized or not, sets to patterns for one's future. One summer in the mid-'80s, I planned to drive to Oklahoma for a visit, and Dorothy agreed to host a cosmetic party so I could count the trip expenses as a working event. While there, I convinced Dorothy to become a Mary Kay distributor. I was thrilled that she agreed and continued to call her from time to time to see if there was anything I could do to help her in building her business. Over time, I realized she only became a beauty consultant to make me happy, with no intention to actually sell the products. Ah, the things we do for love. Now, 25 years later, I learned that prior to my arrival in Oklahoma back then, Kristen and Dorothy had just returned from a Republican Party fundraiser at Mary Kay Ash's home in Dallas. Dorothy told me that Mary Kay had suggested to her that she should become a beauty consultant and then a director for Mary Kay Cosmetics in Oklahoma, as it could give her an influential platform to touch the lives of women throughout the state. Dorothy had gracefully declined Mary Kay's invitation. As Dorothy shared this story with me, I suddenly realized that I had successfully recruited a woman that Mary Kay Ash herself could not recruit. Wow, Mary Kay would have been very proud of me. No wonder she once looked directly into my eyes, smiled, and said, "You're one of us, aren't you?" My response was, "Yes, ma'am." One day I would like to teach women not only how to run a business from home, but how to help influence support for our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in this country. I plan to take a stand and be a voice to secure for our children in the future the freedoms we enjoy today, all in due time. Another important lesson I learned from Mary Kay was how to extend the average day to accomplish more. She was a big believer in waking early before other people. She taught us to get up and start work early. By doing so, you gain an entire workday each week. I learned to put my best foot forward, regardless of what was happening in my life. I learned to leave the kids in the house at home and concentrate on showing up for business looking 100% professional and efficient always. Those lessons remain with me in my life today, maybe more strongly than ever, and I call on them to help me guide me in my business life. That was evident recently while I was preparing for our annual SeneGence seminar, our premier event for SeneGence independent distributors. I write the entire staging script for seminar every year. I also play the main role as the EMC on stage, and I am the main trainer. I love doing it. But this was a tough seminar year for me because my dad was in Arizona going through open heart surgery. I was torn about where I needed to be. Still, I knew that Dad would not want me to shrink from my responsibilities. I kept in mind the image of Mary Kay Ash, willing to work as the leader of her company despite the tragedies that happened to her family in my mind as I worked on. Although Dad's surgery was not a tragedy, he recovered quite well. It was a distraction while I was trying to lead the seminar. It turned out to be a wonderful event. In fact, we set up a computer in the middle of the room, logged onto Skype, and Dad joined us for seminar during his waking moments. After seminar, many of the attendees said it was the best one yet. No one knew or suspected the stress I was under. Mission accomplished. Mary Kay Ash was my very first business mentor outside my family, but she certainly wasn't my last. As I mentioned previously, another was Lee Iacocca, the former Ford Motor Company executive who took over as the head of Chrysler in the 1980s. Iacocca mentored me through his books. Probably the most important value he taught me is not to engage in activities that don't generate replicable income. Applying his lesson to the direct selling business, I realized that the two most important activities in direct sales are demoing, which generates sales income through reorders, and sponsoring, because that generates ongoing commission income. I'll address these things in more detail in chapters 10 and 12. According to Iacocca, everything in business is secondary to generating income. One more important teacher for me has been the 20th century writer Napoleon Hill. His book, Think and Grow Rich, teaches the characteristics you need to be successful. Hill taught me how to develop internally the skill set that I need to be absolutely successful at whatever I undertake. And you know who told me to read Napoleon Hill? Mary Kay Ash. Early in my career, I wrote Hill's 13 characteristics for success on my bathroom mirror, and each morning I would think about the things that I had done yesterday and the things that I had to do today and how I could best apply those 13 steps to my actions. And I did it year after year after year. So books are a great resource for learning and growing. However, nothing takes the place of a living, accessible mentor who effectively helps you unleash your personal power to live fully and to capture your dreams. This is what author and visionary Tony Robbins, has helped me understand. I was first introduced to Tony at a hotel in Los Angeles area while in my early 20s. As I recall, I paid $15 at the door that day and could not afford to return the next. I remember this tall of a man telling the small gathering how he helped a woman overcome her fear of snakes through personal growth, spirituality, and health, both as a guest of others and as a ticket holder. From time to time, I've taken guests of my own to his events as well. I continue working with small groups under Tony's guidance and spending as much time with him as available, treasuring every bit of insight I can receive from this remarkable man. In my estimation, Tony is something like Napoleon Hill on steroids. Tony takes you through a series of tested and proven processes that physically and emotionally change old realities, perhaps learned through environmental factors such as demographics, religion, country of origin, and family traditions. And he helps you discover if the old truths serve you well, perhaps these old truths need to be replaced with new realities, based upon your dreams and desire that will in turn serve you in achieving your dreams. This is a simplified version of a much more complicated process. I gain insight from Tony regarding business development, financial management, people management, social contribution, and so much more. As Tony and his business training content continues to grow, so does too my understanding in these areas, and in turn this acts as my inspiration to continue to develop innovative products and processes for the company. Tony is a giver, and he's kind enough to lead the way for millions of searching individuals around the world like me. In turn, I like to think I am both a giver and a mentor for the many women who are SeneGence independent distributors. I wish I could be a full-time mentor to many SeneGence independent distributors, but my job as CEO of the company requires that I am engaged in different activities. If I ever found a CEO to take my place, I would gladly go back out into the field and work directly with our wonderful distributors, attending to field activities such as demoing, sponsoring, and training. What a great life career that is, making women feel more confident selling products that really work and teaching those who choose to do the same. Never be reluctant to look at others' industry experts or other top distributors in the party plan, demoing, direct sell business to be your mentors. Be on the lookout always for new teachers. One great place to look is at your own upline. For those unfamiliar with this direct sales terminology, this is your sponsor in the business. But ultimately, it doesn't matter if that person is not a strong mentor or role model. She can still be your upline. But in the case that you have to look elsewhere for your inspirational role models, remember, hook your wagon to a star. If you can't get the mentoring you need from your own upline, look online and find someone such as SeneGence independent distributor and queen Jerry Taylor Swade, who has a great attitude and always willing to share her experience and strength. Send that strong leader of choosing your email and tell her you'd like to learn from her. Believe me, if she's the right role model, she will be delighted to help. Successful SeneGence independent distributors are eager to mentor others who show the courage and drive and have a vision to become successful. There's plenty of room at the top. In the long run, in direct sales, it's essentially you build relationships and allow yourself to be mentored by those more experienced. Sorry, one sec. Okay. In the long run, in direct sales, it's essential you build your relationships and allow yourself to be mentored by those more experienced, and then, in turn, when you are ready, you graciously mentor others and build a cycle of success. The SeneGence independent distributor knows that the cycle of training is essential, essential. It's a given within our SeneGence culture. Our top royalty are taught what they will train anyone and everyone in their area, even those not in their downline. One last recommendation for finding mentors and generally building your business and skills and motivation: attend local events or presentations from the top sales motivators and business developers, how-to sessions, go to trainings. You can usually discover these events listed in the local, it says local newspaper, business section, or local business newspaper, but it would be online. Attending these events helps you fend off others' counterproductive actions and speech patterns that otherwise would undercut your consciousness. They help build your arsenal of information and knowledge to success and help propel you forward toward the achievement of your dreams. Remember, if you want to be a racehorse, learn to run with the racehorses. Look for other direct sales professionals with whom you can become friends and share accountability as you build your career. Everyone should have a library of positive, motivational CDs in their cars. Listen to company and industry-related CDs instead of listening to music channels. You will find that you are enjoying hours of training in your car each week. Gaining inspiration and knowledge from others is simple and oh so enjoyable. By listening to the wisdom of others, you'll have more fun and your business will grow even faster with the right influences impacting your decisions on a daily basis. All right, we're down to the end of chapter 2. So I'm at the point where I'm going to read Your Turn chapter 2. This is basically like homework she gives you. So you can, again, find this in the book that came in your distributor kit. It's called $1 Million Lips. I'm going to read her challenge, and then we'll be done for today's chapter in the book. Your Turn chapter 2. Can you name 3 people in your field or career whom you admire? List them by name and write down the reason you admire each of them. Determine if you can apply some or all of the traits that you find admirable to your own life, behavior, and speech. Number 2. If you are a SeneGence distributor, can you name 3 other distributors or SeneGence leaders who exhibit the qualities you would most like to develop in yourself? What are those qualities? Number 3. Ask yourself this: what are the qualities I currently need to develop to move forward in my business life? Name 3 SeneGence leaders who exhibit the qualities you would most like to develop in yourself. Assess your opportunities for growth regarding these qualities and write them down. Can you adapt these qualities so that they serve you well? Number 4, have you ever had an incident in your life that looked like disaster at a time, but turned out to be a blessing in disguise? I bet that you have. Maybe that family relocation that led you to just the right place, or lost that boyfriend you cried over just before you met the love of your life. Spend a few quiet moments in reflection over these hidden blessings, and then name them and write them down. Note how they became blessings in your life. That's all for chapter 2. I hope that you guys are enjoying hearing these on audio. I'm doing this so that you guys do not have to take extra time out of your day to sit down and read it if you don't have the time. But if you do, you definitely should follow along with me in the book, or at least minimize me and listen to it through audio, because this gives us such a deeper understanding of who our founder, Joni Kante, is, and how amazing her plans are for this company, and just how amazing she is as a person. So you guys have a great weekend and a good night. Bye, y'all.